Doctors, stop telling people they are fine when they come to you sick. All right, stop doing that. That is the most invalidating and patronizing thing you can do to somebody who overcame the discomfort of actually coming to see you. See, it turns out most people would rather be anywhere but coming to see a doctor, all right? They're not coming to see you because it's fun. No, it's not fun to have to go to a doctor's office, to overcome the fear of a white coat, to overcome the discomfort of wearing that gown with a drafty in the back and having somebody prodding you and poking you and making you do stuff that shows where you hurt and you already hurt and it makes it worse. They'd rather be anywhere than sitting there in that office. So if somebody comes into your office and tells you they don't feel good, they hurt, they're tired, they have brain fog, I don't care what the piece of paper says with the labs that you ran, that person is not okay if they are sitting there telling you that they're not okay. Doctors have become too dependent on the lab tests and they've stopped listening to their patients. And part of the problem is the system has set it up this way, right? Because the insurance company only pays the doctor to see you for 10 to 15 minutes. So what can they do in 10 to 15 minutes? They can look over some labs. They can ask you a few questions. And then that's it. And they have to come up with a diagnosis. So the system's already broken, all right? That's why I see my patients, my clients for a minimum of 75 minutes because I want to hear the whole story. First of all, I believe you. If you're going to come and see me, something's wrong, and I'm going to listen. Then I listen to the whole story from your childhood all the way to today because what I know is when I spend time with a person, their body will tell me the story. And if I listen, the answers are usually pretty clear. But the problem is doctors aren't listening anymore. And because we have this technology now that will give us a readout of some blood markers, we think that this is the answer. But what did we do before we had lab tests? We listened. We sat and listened. And then if someone said they were sick, we believed them and treated them for being sick. Now, it doesn't matter what the person's saying. If it doesn't show up on a lab test, they're being told they're fine. Never tell someone they're fine who's sitting there telling you that they're sick. You have to believe them. Yeah, I spent 12 years of my life with lupus. I know what it's like to be sick, and I can't imagine going into a doctor's office and having them tell me that I was fine when I wasn't. Thank goodness my doctors actually listened to me, although it still took them a couple of years to figure out what was wrong from the first time I started complaining of problems. They tried, they ran tests, but at least they believed me. But even today, I've had two different people I saw today who were both suffering, who were told they were fine by doctors. I just saw a nurse who developed rheumatoid arthritis. She went in to see a doctor. She started out with lung pain where she said, something's wrong. I need you to run tests on me. And he told her, you're fine. You look good. And, because you're a nurse, you're probably just being a hypochondriac and assuming something's wrong when you're fine. And he sent her home without even running a test. Then the arthritis built up in her hands. Then she went back and saw another doctor, and finally they ran the test, and she had rheumatoid arthritis. So she didn't even get the test run. He didn't even believe her when she said there's something wrong. He said, you look fine, and sent her home and actually accused her of making it up. How dare you do that? How dare you do that? You don't think she'd rather be anywhere with her kids, doing anything else but being in the office, complaining of not being able to breathe? Gotta do better than that. The other guy, he went in, tons of pain, can't work out anymore, and his doctor goes, I can't find anything. Maybe you need to just, do some stress relief activities. You gotta stop telling people that they're fine when they're not. You gotta believe your patients. There are so many people I've seen who have enigma diseases. Nobody can figure out what's wrong with them. I just spend 75 minutes talking to them and I figure it out. Why? Not because I'm such a brilliant diagnostician. It's because I take the time to listen to them and I believe them. And I know that if someone comes to me who's sick, it's my job to figure it out, to come up with the answers, not to tell them they don't feel the way they feel. So for any patient out there who's ever been told by their doctor that you are fine and nothing's wrong just because a piece of paper didn't tell them a story that made sense to them, I apologize to you. On behalf of all medical professionals, I apologize to you. Doctors, you need to do better. Because, I see people every day In my work in disease reversal, I help people reverse lupus and rheumatoid arthritis and other inflammatory diseases using nutrition and lifestyle approaches, helping them with all the different things, creating disease, all right? And so many of these people, when they first went to the doctor, the tests were negative. And I've had people, there was one woman whose tests were negative for 10 years, and she kept going back to the doctor, and he kept saying she was fine. And after 10 years, she tested positive for lupus, and he said, "Oh, you have lupus now." And she said, "No, I've had lupus for 10 years. You just couldn't figure it out." Got to listen to the patients. The paper sometimes correlates with what's going on, and sometimes it doesn't. But the person who's in that body, sitting there and facing you right there in that moment, they know if something's wrong, and you need to believe them, and you need to figure it out. If the paper doesn't tell you what it is, then you're going to have to do something else. You're going to have to spend more time. But never, ever tell someone who is sick, who feels badly, that there's nothing wrong with them. It's just not okay. I have a testimonial video coming out soon. I did a little Zoom meeting with a doctor that I worked with a few years ago who had autoimmune, but they couldn't figure out what it was. And because she was the chief of medicine, nobody told her, "Hey, you're fine." All right. They at least believed her, but nobody could figure out what it was. But in the meantime, while they couldn't figure it out, nobody prescribed her anything, and she couldn't walk because her pain in her legs were so bad she couldn't walk. But she was able to self-prescribe herself some steroids, and then she could walk and do her job. Most people out there don't have the ability to write their own, like I have a prescription pad, right? But most people out there don't have a prescription pad where they could just write themselves some dose of steroids to see if they feel better. She was lucky in that way. But you know what? The Mayo Clinic and NIH and Johns Hopkins, she went to all those places. Nobody could figure out what was wrong. She read my book, Goodbye Lupus, did hypernourishment, and within 2 weeks, she could lower her steroids when nothing else had worked. And so now she's been off all steroids and she's healthy again, and we still don't know what she had, but at least we're able to do something about it. But we were talking together, and she admitted to me that had it not been her, she might not have done anything for that patient either, because they're saying they're in pain, but their labs look good. Maybe they're fine. Maybe they just need to see a therapist. But having been sick herself now, it's opened her mind to believe the patient even when the tests don't tell you anything. So if anyone's ever done that to you, I apologize. Even though it wasn't me, somebody needs to apologize to you for that. And I just wanted you to know that I see you and hear you. I believe you. Believe yourself. Take action. You can start doing the things that can help you get better now, even without a diagnosis. But doctors, you got to do that. It's my rant for the day. I hope you all are having an amazing day. And this is Dr. Goldner. I'll see you next time.